I bet all of you have heard of or read Robert Kiyosaki's famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The author states in the book, "To become wealthy, you must hold on to as many assets as possible and reduce your liabilities." But after finishing it, I had only one thought. All of that is completely wrong. This shows that the vast majority of people's understanding of money is still stuck in the last century. That whole rich dad philosophy, when viewed today, I give it one review: an expired, even toxic, old map. You're a financial novice carrying this old map on a treasure hunt. Might think you are on the right road, but in reality, every step is taking you further away from the destination, perhaps even closer to a cliff. Why am I so bold to say this? Because the most crucial landmark on this map is fundamentally drawn wrong. Flags liabilities as forbidden, telling you to avoid them at all costs. This mindset might have made sense 30 years ago. But today, in 2025, if this is still the prevailing idea in your head, then let me tell you clearly, you have already lost. And you have lost at the starting line. You absolutely cannot achieve class leap on your own in this lifetime. Today, right here in front of you, I am going to tear this old map to shreds and draw you a brand new map of wealth. Let us not talk about anything else today, but rather break down one question. Why is debt, specifically quality debt, the only super engine that accelerates your wealth accumulation in this era? Before we start building a new mindset, we must first clear away the shackles of old thinking, which is the sweeping concept of debt. Rich Dad tells you to reduce liabilities and increase assets. Does not that sound perfectly correct? Does not it sound like a meaningless platitude that is always correct? The problem is that he has turned the word debt into a huge box and thrown everything into it. This is like a doctor indiscriminately telling you that all medicines are poison and you should not take any. Would not you think that doctor is an idiot? How can medicine that heals be the same as poison that kills you? So, from this moment on, you must remove that broad concept of debt from your mind. In my world, it is divided into two things, and you must remember them. One is called drug debt, and one is called engine debt. What is drug debt? It is simple. Anything that gives you immediate gratification, but constantly drains cash from your pocket. Where the corresponding item continuously depreciates is a drug. For example, the latest smartphone you bought on a credit card installment plan. Does it feel good? Yes, but it starts depreciating the moment you unbox it. And you have to pay interest on that depreciating item for the next 12 months. That is a drug. An overly expensive luxury car you bought on loan for status that you cannot afford. Is it flashy when you drive it? Yes, but it depreciates by 20% the moment you drive it off the lot. And you pay high costs for insurance, maintenance, fuel, and yes, you continue to pay interest. This is pure poison. All consumer loans, online loans, money borrowed for luxury goods, or for travel, all of this is essentially you pre-spending tomorrow's cash flow to satisfy today's desire. You have to pay high interest on top of it. This kind of drug debt is the perfect financial treadmill designed by modern society for the average person. You appear to be running constantly. Your salary is rising, but you can never run out of the cage, because the belt beneath your feet is that interest, and it is always dragging you back. For drug debt, I have only one piece of advice. Do not touch it. If you have any now, treat it like a financial tumor and cut it out immediately, at the fastest speed, at all costs. This is the prerequisite for all further discussion. Alright, what then is engine debt? This is even simpler. Anything that allows you to leverage a core asset that is highly likely to appreciate in the future, and where the cost of the debt is lower than the expected return of the asset that is your financial engine. Let us take the simplest example. A young person using a credit card for consumption, but depositing their income into money market funds or wealth management products to earn interest. They not only get income from the interest rate differential and milk the bank for various perks, but also develop their personal financial management skills. This is an engine debt with virtually no barriers to entry. Another example. You use a bank loan to buy a property with a high rental yield, allowing the rent to cover the mortgage with even a surplus. This mortgage is the engine debt that facilitates wealth growth for most middle-class families. If you own a highly profitable company, you apply for low interest or even zero-interest business loans from the bank, using government support policies to expand scale and seize market share. This is the engine debt used by many business owners. One final example. If you hold a large number of stocks, and you need money for consumption or see another opportunity, you collateralize your stocks to get low-interest funds for spending or investing. This collateral loan is the engine debt used by many wealthy individuals. Do you see the difference? Drug debt corresponds to consumption and depreciating items. Engine debt corresponds to investment and appreciating assets. The middle class and the poor spend their lives fighting drug debt. Their goal in life is to pay off all their loans and achieve a false sense of security. But the rich and the truly smart people spend their lives figuring out how to acquire more, cheaper, and larger amounts of engine debt, and then use that borrowed money to buy more core assets. Rich Dad's biggest mistake is that he was born in an old era without quantitative easing. So, he conflated these two things and gave you an incredibly foolish suggestion. Avoid all debt. What is that equivalent to? It is like telling you, because a knife can hurt people, you must not only throw away the dangerous dagger, but also the kitchen knife you use to cut vegetables. The result is that you lose the ability to even cook a meal. This is the first and largest cognitive trap. You must completely separate these two concepts in your mind as if performing surgical procedure. Okay, we have distinguished between drug and engine debt. Now I am going to tell you a deeper iron law that determines the final outcome of this entire game. This iron law is that as long as human society uses fiat currency, then inflation is eternal. Your money will inevitably and consistently depreciate over the long term. It does not matter what the system is, whether it is the United States, China, or Europe, is all the same. Printing money is the most addictive drug that all modern governments cannot quit. Why? The logic could not be simpler. A country needs to develop its economy, build bridges, pave roads, fund social welfare, maintain the military and civil services, and preserve stability. What does all this require? Money. Where does the money come from? Traditionally, it is through taxation. But is taxation easy? Absolutely not. If you collect taxes from corporations, they complain and try to move away. If you collect taxes from ordinary citizens, they take to the streets and votes are lost. Taxation is a thankless high-effort and highly inefficient task. What is the easiest way? Printing money. The central bank turns on the printing press and whoosh, trillions of dollars are created. This process happens without anyone realizing it. Most people do not even notice. The government gets the money, solves its immediate problems, and everyone is happy. What is the cost? The cost is that there is more money circulating in the market, and the purchasing power of every unit of money you hold is diluted. If you deposited $100 in the bank last year, this year, it might only have the purchasing power of $95. What does this iron law mean for those of us who want to invest and accumulate wealth? It means your engine debt is being diluted for you, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, by the central bank, the most powerful institution in the world. Let me give you an analogy so you can fully grasp it. Inflation is like a huge, eternally hungry beast. If you leave your money there as cash or savings, this beast is eating away at your savings one bite at a time every day. Your wealth is continuously shrinking. But if you reverse the situation and become a debtor, if you owe the bank a piece of engine debt, that beast instantly transforms from your enemy into your ally. It is now, day by day, helping you eat away at your debt. You have essentially tamed this beast that constantly devours savings into a plow as that hauls your assets. Let us do some simple math, the easiest arithmetic problem. Suppose in 2010 you took out a loan of $1 million to buy a house. At the time, your monthly salary might have been only 10,000 Chinese yuan, and you paid 5,000 Chinese yuan every month for the mortgage. You felt immense pressure, feeling like a mortgage slave. Now, fast forward to 2025. How many times has M2 money supply grown in these 15 years? How much has the cost of living risen? How much has your salary increased? Today, your monthly salary might have risen to 30,000 Chinese yuan. When you look back at that 5,000 Chinese yuan monthly payment from back then, does not it feel like pocket change with zero pressure? Most importantly, what is the market value today of the house you leveraged with that $1 million in debt back then? It could be 5 million or even higher. Do you understand the game now? Use 2010 money to lock in a core asset, and over the next 15 years, you let the central bank's tidal wave of inflation and social development dilute your debt while simultaneously inflating your asset prices. Your debt becomes increasingly worthless as time goes on, while your asset becomes increasingly valuable as time goes on. This simultaneous decrease and increase is the most powerful wealth leverage that ordinary people can legally utilize. You are essentially using future money that is becoming worthless to pay off the full value debt you took on today. You must fully grasp this calculation. If you only see the pain of paying monthly interest, but fail to see that your total debt is being washed away and shrunk by the flood of inflation, then you are just missing the forest for the trees. So what is the conclusion? In the fiat currency era, saving is the greatest risk, and quality debt is the best tool to fight inflation and preserve purchasing power. You are not just owing money, you are shorting the country's currency. You are betting that the country's currency will certainly depreciate in the long run. And this is a bet you will 100% win. By now, you might understand the underlying logic of engine debt. But next, I want to tell you about an even more advanced, unspoken strategy used in the circles of the wealthy. One that will make you fully understand how they push the tool of debt to its absolute extreme. What is the middle-class mindset? Work hard and save money, invest in funds or stocks, and when they rise, I sell them to make a profit. Then I pay a tax. And finally, I use the remaining money to spend or reinvest. Every step of this process seems perfectly natural. But I must tell you, in the eyes of the wealthy, this process is absolutely foolish. Why? Because it contains one fatal step: selling the asset. The moment you sell, you trigger a penalty mechanism called the capital gains tax. In the United States, that rate can be as high as 20% or 30%. In other places, selling property also incurs layers of fees and taxes. What does this equate to? It is like you painstakingly raised a cow, and just as you were about to milk it, government swooped in and took the biggest piece of the meat. You are essentially cutting into your own flesh. So, what is the standard operating procedure for the wealthy? The option to sell core assets is almost non-existent in their dictionary. Their standard operation is condensed into 3 words: buy, borrow, die. The first step, buy, they use every method possible, including the engine debt we discussed earlier, to purchase the world's highest quality, consistently yielding core assets. This could be real estate in a prime urban location, stocks in great companies, or businesses that generate stable cash flow. They hold onto these assets tightly, like family heirlooms. The second step, borrow. This is the most crucial step. When they need cashes to buy a yacht, live a luxurious lifestyle, or invest in a new project, what do? They absolutely do not sell the continuously appreciating stocks and properties they hold. Their method is collateralization. They directly pledge their $100 million stock portfolio or $50 million property to a private bank or financial institution, and borrow money at an extremely low interest rate to spend. This maneuver has several strokes of genius. First, it is a non-taxable event. Borrowing money is not taxable. It is like conjuring a tax-free ATM out of their assets. Second, their core asset is still there. The $100 million stock portfolio remains in their name, continuing to enjoy market growth, constantly appreciating, and laying eggs. Third, the interest cost is extremely low because they have sufficient high-quality collateral. The bank is eager to lend them money at the lowest possible cost. Furthermore, the interest they pay can often be used as a tax deduction. Do you see the closed loop? They use the expected appreciation of the asset to cover the interest cost of the loan. As long as their asset growth rate is higher than the borrowing interest rate, it's true most of the time, they achieve a situation where their assets continue to compound and inflate, while simultaneously extracting funds for consumption, legally and tax-free throughout the process. The third step, die. This sounds a bit like dark humor, but it is the most ingenious part of this strategy. When the wealthy individual passes away, the assets under their name are inherited by their children. In the tax law of many countries, such as the US, there is a provision called step-up in basis. What does this mean? Suppose they bought stocks 30 years ago for $1 million, and by the time they die, those stocks are worth 100 million. That is 99 million in capital appreciation. If they had sold those stocks while alive, they would have paid massive taxes. But because they did not sell and passed away instead, when their children inherit the 100 million in stocks, the cost basis for that asset under tax law is automatically stepped up from the original 1 million to the market value at the time of inheritance, which is 100 million. This means that 99 million of capital appreciation just vanishes into thin air. Not a single cent of tax is owed. Your children, having received this $100 million asset, can repeat the borrow game, pledging it to borrow money for consumption. A perfect perpetual wealth machine is born. Of course, money has a time value. It's even in countries with different tax laws, like Canada, where the 100 million in stock appreciation is deemed a sale at inheritance requiring tax payment on past gains. But note this, by dragging the tax payment action out for 30 years, how much more money has that principal generated for you during that time? The compound interest far exceeds the original tax amount. Now look back. From buying the asset to spending money and then to wealth transfer, has not the tool of debt been used by them from start to finish? This is the complete, top-tier, closed wealth loop. Meanwhile, ordinary people are still agonizing over whether to pay off a mortgage of a few thousand yuan early. Our financial awareness and theirs are not even on the same dimension. After discussing all this top-level design and underlying logic, you are likely saying, I understand the principles, but how does this help me, an ordinary person? What should I do tomorrow morning? Do not worry. This map must include not only the macro strategy, but also the tactical path specific to your feat. Step 1. Clear the battlefield and quit drug debt. This is the starting point for all your actions. There is no room for negotiation. I do not care what method you use, whether it is saving rigorously or taking a side job. List all your installment, consumer loans, and online debts. Create a war plan and eliminate them all in the shortest time possible. Remember, every day these things remain on your balance sheet. They are sucking your blood, preventing you from accumulating any effective capital. While clearing the battlefield, you must not have any thought of enjoyment. This is a temporary state. You must stop the bleeding first before you can talk about development. Step 2. Build your balance sheet and acquire engine debt. Young people who recently graduated should focus on studying credit cards, milking the perks, learning to save, and then moving on to investing. This is a low-barrier engine. Middle-aged people with some accumulated capital need most to study stock and real estate investing. That 30-year ultra-long-term mortgage you take out from the bank is the most important financial weapon for most ordinary people to fight inflation in this life. If you can get the rental income to cover the interest, or even the monthly payment, then the tenant is working for you. Even with owner-occupied housing, if you can manage a stable return investment portfolio that is higher than the interest rate, you are executing arbitrage. For business owners, you need to optimize your debt every year, driving down the cost of borrowing. You must optimize your assets, selling assets with poor returns after a big run-up, and buying assets with high yield returns. Be sure to maintain sufficient asset liquidity and cleverly use tax deductions to transfer the cost of debt onto your taxes. This process will be painful, but it is the necessary path from a poor man's mindset to a rich man's mindset. When you have established a powerful balance sheet, inflation is your biggest friend and time is your best ally. Step 3. Manage risk and survive. This is the most critical step. I know many people will jump in here and say, you are advocating leverage. What if asset prices fall and I lose my job? Good question. I must tell you, this game has risk, and it is significant. Debt is a double-edged sword. It can launch you into the sky, or it can crush you to pieces. The key to controlling this engine is 2 words: cash flow and risk management. You must ask yourself several questions. Is your income source singular? If you lose your job tomorrow, how long can you still pay your monthly expenses? You have sufficient reserves to handle sudden illness or accident? Have you done enough research on the assets you are buying? Are you buying a core asset with future growth potential, or a decaying junk asset? Remember my words. In the game of leverage, survival is paramount. It is even more important than making money. As long as you do not get liquidated, as long as your cash flow does not break, then time is your best friend. Short-term market volatility is just noise that you can ignore. The long-term inflation and national development are the true main themes, and they will naturally push your assets to new highs. You only need to do one thing: stay alive, hold it, and let inflation and time work for you. All right, we have covered a lot today, from the silly label of debt as a single entity to understanding the underlying rules of the inflation game, to learning the wealthy's top-tier strategies for using debt, and finally, I gave you a practical roadmap that ordinary people can execute. The information is dense, but the core conclusions are 3 points. Write them down and carve them into your mind. First, immediately eliminate the word debt from your vocabulary. Your world should only contain drug debt that makes you poorer and engine debt that accelerates your wealth. Treat the former like a tumor to be removed and embrace the latter like a partner. Second, recognize the biggest trend of this era: inflation. Stop foolishly keeping huge amounts of cash in the bank. That is the most money-losing trade in the world. You must learn how to utilize the cheapest engine debt to leverage core assets that can beat inflation. It's making the central bank your free debt repayment agent. Third, always prioritize cash flow management and risk control. Leverage is a beast. You must be an excellent beast tamer, not be devoured by it. As long as you can control it, survive, and not be thrown off the ride. 8. The compounding power of time and the force of inflation will bring you unimaginable returns. The Old Rich Dad map teaches you how to be a diligent, frugal, good employee. The new map I have given you today teaches you how to understand the true rules of this financial world and how to use those rules to make money work for you. These 2 paths lead to completely different destinations. If you do not want to be trapped by old thinking anymore and do not want to take the wrong turn on the path to wealth, then welcome. Subscribe immediately to my channel, like, and hit the bell icon. Let's accompany you all the way to financial freedom. We will see you next time.